Hello and welcome back here. Today we are going to be doing a starting steps / first 50 as Poland, which is going to be heavily textured by their opening disaster. I know some people have struggled with it. I found it to be kind of easy to get through in our practice run, but that might have been relatively RNG. We have an idea of how to get through it, and that is probably what we focus on. Poland, in terms of countries, suffers from kind of two things. They don't really have a lot of pops, and there's really not a lot of pops in areas that they would naturally expand to, and so this is generally a bit of a struggle. Geographically, they're also in a bit of a kind of tight spot where they're between a bunch of kind of big people. They don't really have that good of terrain and land for control, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and so those are kind of challenges. But what they do have is really good content and really good and unique advances, kicking things off with a proximity cost of 5% bonus, which is quite strong. They also get tax efficiency really early on in H2, 10% tax efficiency off in advance. That's absolutely incredible. They also get monthly prosperity at the game start, and this really smooths out a lot of choices for you. You could go centralized bureaucracy because you don't need the prosperity off of decentralized bureaucracy. You can go serfdom because you don't need the free subjects in order to go prosperity. It really kind of frees up a lot of things, and the migration speed is kind of nice quality of life thing because the pops will generally be going kind of where you want them to be going. You also have pretty early on 20% maximum RGO size with a cheapened expanding farming cost. This is going to make farms very cheap, especially if you roll this along with your parliamentary debate, but maximum RGO size is going to go pretty hard as well if you get some expands into either Hungary or Bohemia, where they do have gold and silver. That is going to be quite nice. Granary of Europe, decent, but we're starting to get into the later ages, so the bonuses down here are becoming less and less important. And you do get some unique units in the Hussars, which have a really strong modifier in terms of 25% extra morale damage, but age 4 is when cavalry starts falling off, so that is something to consider. This is when infantry stats start getting better, and so it's going to be, timing-wise, it probably just means you can keep playing through your cavalry through ages 4 and 5, where you get the late winged hussars, and then age 6 you probably have to get off of the cavalry. That's mainly what we have going on. There is a 10% max lit, but that's an age 6, so how much advantage are you going to get out of it at that late in the game? Anyways, you also have this maximum tax for burghers, which is very strong, and you have a unique policy which gives you plus 10% max tax for all your estates. The max tax, combined with the fact that you get tax efficiency, especially very early on, makes Poland a powerhouse in terms of economics, and so they are going to be quite strong in that regard. Let's get into game here. So first up, we have kind of the material considerations for Poland. The biggest one being the most important resource, souls. We don't have a lot of those. We have 1 million pops. Our natural expands don't have a lot of pops. Bohemia kind of has some, but all the way to the east, really light on pop. And so this will be a struggle for us for some time. We will get good pop growth overall, but it's not like we're going to be this towering empire. We're not going to be able to compete that well with the kind of more Western European nations. And if we're playing multiplayer, we're really actually kind of spooked by both Hungary and Bohemia. Both of these countries are really big and are going to be ones that can kind of come after us. Regarding the terrain, we have mostly flatland. This is good. It's easy to project control across flatland. It doesn't have any negative modifiers. There are a few wetlands which will get in our way, but if we expand into either Bohemia or Hungary, we do have to contend with the hills, giving us negative development growth and negative proximity impact. We also have a lot of forests and farmlands, so the farmlands are really nice. I do think this is more farmlands than a somewhat recent version, or maybe we just didn't fully appreciate the farmlands we had. Make sure you call your farmland when you get home. Say you missed them. But what is going to be going on with the farmlands is that this is going to be really good for development and population capacity, making it good for cities, this type of thing. But as it stands, you really want big spacious clearings, and Poland really lacks these, making it hard to decide where we put our capital, where we put our markets, these types of things, because you want to have these wide open clearings for these things, and you just like kind of have little pockets all over the place. Your starting market, Krakow's in a really awkward spot because it's hugging the Pest and Praha market. The value of the market is that it pushes out market access, and you're just pushing into these other two markets, and so you're not fully utilizing the fact that you're pushing out market access, and there's a couple dead zones down here. you probably want to move your market and or make another market at some point in time. You probably want to move your market to either Warsaw or even further north up here, and make a market in this dead zone down here in terms of considerations for having as much market access as possible. But as it relates to coming back to wanting clearings, a market up here makes a whole lot of sense. Warsaw doesn't really exactly have a clearing. Over here has much more of a clearing, and also you want to be on rivers for this type of thing, and there are some good rivers to flow through. So I guess here really is kind of where all the rivers are. Isthmuses are better at pushing market access, but you can be inland a little, and then also you have a river over here that is probably good for a market. So that's kind of what's going on with the terrain as it is. With the resources, you have a lot of iron, and that's good, and that's nice. It's going to mean you're going to have a lot of tools. A lot of the iron is in different provinces. You don't really have very big provinces, so it's hard to get a lot of bonuses, and you have a decent chunk of wool. So you will be able to make textiles and tools, and you will be happy with your life. Wool is a really good food source. Iron is a really good source of other things. You have, you know, kind of okay-ish other resources. You have some of the more rare mineral resources in copper and lead. I think you might have a couple tin, but I don't remember. You have a coal, you have salt right on top of where the capital starts, which is going to be kind of your money resource at the beginning, but you don't have anything that's too premium. You don't have like these middling plus ones other than the wool and the iron, and so you're kind of not in the best resource situation here in Poland, but you are solid enough, and you will be good at building up industry, which is nice because you probably want to go some sort of capital economy eventually, even though you have bonuses to RGOs and this sort of thing. So, our disaster is oriented around the Szlachta, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, where once we pop it, we will really care about getting these guys a whole lot weaker and getting the crown more powerful. The thing that is really making them have a lot of estates power is not just the fact that they have all these percentage modifiers, but really it has a lot more to do with the flat number of nobles we have. And to that end, we can decrease the flat number of nobles we have by quite a lot if we go after their values and push down aristocracy, because what aristocracy does is it gives us extra nobles in towns and cities. This isn't a flat amount. It's represented as a flat amount, but this is a percentage value that is multiplied by our population. And so bigger population, more nobles. And so as long as we have a ton of aristocracy, we'll have a ton of nobles. The nobles' power is all their modifiers multiplied by the number of nobles that exist. So by virtue of making more nobles, aristocracy really empowers them. So what we will be trying to do, and this is going to be taking place really in our first parliament, is we are going to be going after plutocracy really heavily and trying to get this 0.53 trend to start trending towards plutocracy to front load some of the things that we have to do in our disaster. Also notably for our disaster is going to be that I believe that the easiest way out is getting crown power over 50. So we are going to really care about all the little things we can do to massage crown power up alongside this, because we need a combination of weak nobles, or having weak nobles will help us to get there, but this is going to really texture what it is we are doing. For our cabinet, we are starting off by changing societal values towards centralization. We can't push towards a plutocracy just yet, but we can start getting pushed towards centralization, which importantly, centralization gives crown power, gives 50% crown power. We want to get centralization as quickly as possible, and then also we are helping recover, but after this we will increase stability. So to the end of getting crown power, we want to make sure that the couple of privileges that we can give out at game start that give centralization, that these are given out, and also the roads one is given out as well here, so that's going to give us a 0.15 trend towards it. So now we're getting 0.28 trend, which is going to be quite nice. I do believe there is another one that we could potentially get, or that we already start with here in the nobility, but we are a little bit leery about giving it out because we have to get the nobles as weak as possible, and it's this monetary fiefs, and we can't even give it out because we have a different privilege already enacted, so that will not be something that we are doing. We do see that we have a possible religious action, and we have the Placidium Regium, which is kind of a bit of a mixed bag. Boy, oh boy, does it make the Pope hate you. You lose 100 religious influence, and you get this modifier, which gives you negative influence and minus 100 papal relations. But it also gives you 100 crown power. So we will click the button, because this guy will probably be around and be kicking around, and we will need him, at least I think he doesn't die via event or something. We will need him to try and get more crown power. So he's going to be giving us plus 20% here, and that's going to help out. We are also just wanting to note here that crown power does have a big effect on tax efficiency. Tax efficiency is a really important modifier for making money, and this is a big reason why you want to stay over 25 with your crown power regardless of the run. And this is going to be a really big deal, because right now I think we will have negative tax efficiency. We have land rights, but this crown power, ouch, is giving us minus 10%. So we will also take a look here, make sure that we have enough satisfaction that we can do another slot, and we will slot in treasury rights as well here. So now we will have a good chunk of tax efficiency, or positive 5% tax efficiency. We're also going to come in here and make sure we get rid of our forts that are not on the capital. We'll keep our capital fort, but forts are really expensive, especially when you're not making a lot of money. They represent a big portion of your income. Now, as far as the war goes, we normally start with a war with the Teutonic Order, or we have on all previous versions of the game. So the fact that we start at peace is a little bit of a novelty to me. The Lithuanians might pull us in at the beginning, but if they do, it should be a fairly straightforward war for us. Diplomatically, we start in a good enough spot. We start with an alliance with Hungary, and I do believe we also start with an alliance with Lithuania here, and so we should be relatively safe. We're not going to use our diplomats to improve relations or anything like that. We're just going to use it to annex our closest subject, get the ball rolling on that. Our diplomat resource will be relatively pressured for some time, because we don't want to build this royal garden anytime soon. And so we're in a little bit of a rough spot as it relates to that, because this is relatively expensive. We will also have to import resources to do it, this type of thing, and so we are going to forego that. As it relates to our economy, we have 2 urban areas. This area has basically no control or market access, so the only thing we will want to build there is going to be marketplaces. So we will put down 2 marketplaces there, because trade is kind of okay, but we don't really have insane resources, so it's not like we're trading away silk, we're trading away, you know, spices, gold, silver, this type of thing. Trade is going to be relatively weak for us, and then we will also want to get going with whatever's profitable here in Krakow is also going to be something we're interested in. We're just going to sort by profitability. Look, it's going to be the Tailor's Guild. It's generally the Tailor's Guild for most people in Europe, and so we will go with a couple levels there for that. We will build 2 levels simultaneously in Krakow, so we could even add maybe a third. This is going to, with 4 ducats added in terms of net, generally outperform some of the RGOs, but only for the first few levels. Maybe let's add a 3rd level, and then we are going to be going for the salt in a couple of these spots. These are going to be reasonably valuable. Our profit per level is 1, but it will always be, actually, that's kind of low for the salt. Salt is something we could export, so we will still go for the salt, because we are standing right on top of it, and we would be looking in the near future for that criminal who's on the loose. Have you ever heard about, the short man who was escaped from prison? He was a psychic. He was a small, medium at large. So what we have going on here as well is that this is a river. And so this is why we actually have decent proximity along here. If we didn't have this decent proximity zone, we would be focused on building roads relatively early. But since we are in that boat, and we don't have any urban areas close to our capital to connect the roads to, we're probably not going to build roads anytime soon. But if we are going to build roads, what we're going to look to do is connect up the iron, the wool over here, and also the wool over here. And so this will be, and maybe the iron down here if it's not along the river. This is going to be something that we're kind of constantly checking. But as it stands, the river gives us decent proximity. We're not going to get better proximity by building roads, because when you're going downstream, you get minus 30. It uses the road or the river, whichever's bigger. Going upstream is minus 10, so a road will always be better than going upstream. But going downstream, a road is minus 20, going downstream is minus 30. this will be better until the modern road in Age 5, at which point they are tied. It's only the railroad that's better than going downstream. Although you will be able to build bridges, we're going to focus on the econ stuff, and so we have a few of these going on. Kind of in the near-ish future, we probably are going to be pushing jewelers a little bit here, and just trying to keep, as long as we have available burgers, we'll want to build here, but we'll run out of that soon, and then we will kind of be building wool and iron and these types of things, and that's how we're going to approach the economy at the outset here. Look to get a kind of nice, decent income before we build up that royal, or get to maybe plus 15, something like this. If we unpause, we can see the fruits of our labor as we take on to the next month and see what our balance is really going to look like post-trading. This will decrease back down to like 12-ish, and so kind of in the near future, we are also thinking of getting this royal garden as well, but we will put that off for maybe a couple years. And so this is kind of how we have at the opener. We don't have an invitation from Lithuania to join this fight, so that's fair enough, and we do have too many relations. Okay, so we will have to be a little bit higher on the Diplo slider here, I think, although the malice for this is generally in terms of antagonism and loyalty and this type of stuff. It is also giving us minus crown power, actually, so we will spend up until that goes away, because a crown power malice is particularly nasty, and so we will get that going away. We will make a little bit of an adjustment with our tech, actually, given that we were under that, so a little slight adjustment is we will get rid of all this, and we will go for, okay, first we actually do want to generate some amount of diplomats, but then we'll go for the diplo capacity straight away, and that will be useful for us to be able to decrease the slider expenditure and have a bit of a bigger margin, because now you see as trade is adjusted, we're only making 6 ducats, so it's going to be reasonably slow at the outset here economically. We do have a flavor event for a union with Hungary. It's unlikely to eventually result in an annexation, because I think we do have different succession laws, but it will be nice. We will get positive relations with them. We are also going to build a sergeantry, the only manpower building you can build at game start, because it does give us 1 crown power in the capital, but 2, by having a standing army, we will enable ourselves to get additional crown power by making our ruler the general of that army. So our masonry resource is starting to get pressured here, so what we're going to do is we are going to build masons, specifically the one that, oh, they changed the PM. Sneaky, sneaky. It used to be the case that clay was way better than stone. Now the 2 PMs are equal. Very fascinating. But okay, we have clay here. So by having an input where we have the building, we get a bonus here. So what we will want to do is, in areas that are not the capital, we're going to add masons. We don't need to worry about price collapsing before we add them. We're going to add a bunch of masons in these 3, or just a couple, because we're small and we actually don't have a lot of money. That way it is easier for us to continue to build buildings here. And we are going to contain it in this province, because we will, each of these will get the production bonus on that because of having the clay available here. So you can see here, we do have this PM, and if we look at production efficiency, 10% is coming from clay and Krakow. So anytime we are crimped on the masonry, we are going to consider doing this unless we just did a massive build. So if we take a look here, we can see that, hey, the cost is high because the price of masonry is high. So we're going to add another mason on the horses here and look to get the price of that down as we continue to expand. So if Krakow's idling, we will do that. We unfortunately don't have a lot of sources of lumber, so we will need to do the same thing with lumber mills rather than lumber RGOs, because when the price of wood is high, we will have a similar expense of it being more expensive to expand the RGOs, and we only have so many things. The 2 towns get event Judgment of 1339. So I do think that the Papal States rules like middlingly. They do get an event where they can decide how to rule here on the topic of our lands up here, and then we will say the Teutonic response was cold, faced with the verdict, which is the Pope saying, hey, you got to give up that land. He told us to shove it. And so we now have claims on this area. So what we're going to do is we are going to establish or build a spy network so that we can go after them in the early game. Let's just double check. We are overwhelmingly stronger than them. They do have Bohemia potentially supporting them, which is maybe a consideration for us. We could look to ally Bohemia and then look to gain favors, and then use those favors to break up an alliance. But I think we're just going to build a spy network here, and maybe this will be our first expand. Probably looking to not take this land directly, but instead make subjects. I'm not really sure. We do have cores, so we could just take it, but I think that we can't get any control out here, so it is a little bit of a tough task. To that end, we also, on our radar, have the Bailiff. We'll want to build this in good RGOs for resources. We can see we are getting a price collapse on that, but we don't have any insane resources out here, so we'll probably end up trickling these in on iron and stuff like this, maybe even the loom if the price of it is high, in order to get more control to this area, which is going to benefit. Hey, we get claims straight away. Fair enough. We don't even need to do that. But we will look to establish more control, because control has a negative effect. That's not that. Control has a negative effect on crown power. So because we care about this maximizing crown power issue, we really care about the control as it relates to our disaster downstream. And so it's like, it's not an average of everything, but it's a weighted pool, or it's a pool of everything. So all the crown power in all of your locations matters for your actual crown power. So us having these low crown power locations hurts us in terms of maximizing crown power, and we could think about releasing as a subject some of these if we wanted to boost our crown power specifically, especially because we're not getting too much economic benefit from these as well. So let's have a little bit of a go at the Teutons. Just kidding, we still have a truce with them. We're not going to truce break them. Alright, so we have our first parliament, and it's possible that you want to re-roll Poland start if you don't get a really good first parliament. There's not too much to do before the parliament, and we need to make this work well. So no matter what, we are going to pick one of the noble issues. We would prefer one that gives us nobles approval. We would really prefer expand the gravel road network, I think, because we actually want to build roads. But what we really care about is this 49 support. It doesn't really matter which one we want, I guess, but we don't want the trend towards defensive, so I guess we'll go with increased ties to neighbor. But the thing that we're caring about here is we are going to want to change a couple laws. That's kind of an interesting roll. We won't be able to re-ally Hungary for 120 months, but that is a ton of support at the start, so we can really change a lot of laws. Now we have a kind of a double tension here. We want to get onto centralization as quickly as possible, and we want to get onto plutocracy as quickly as possible, and the laws that we change for both interfere with each other. So what I mean by that is we have this trend towards decentralization. We would like to get rid of that and swap on to central council. However, that gives us trend towards aristocracy. So we probably want to do one and then the other. We are going to get an additional centralization trend in 2 years from a government reform. I think what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to go centralization first and plutocracy second. So we are going to go for law changes with that in mind for our parliament. So we're going to ask for a law change. We're going to say, hey, can we get off of this decentralization that we are getting off of, is it feudal administration that we have? Yes, central council. We will do that, and then we will take a look here. And I think we want to break the alliance. This is like mixed bags, because we're going to get so much support, but if we don't get a third thing, then it's really not worth. So we're going to go for that, and our alliance is broken. Unfortunate. But now what we can do is we can change another law, and the other law we want to change is we want to get off of our current estate law, distribution of power traditional, which is giving us decentralization. Monthly legitimacy is actually kind of okay, but we want something. There's two that we could go for, and what I think what we're going to do is we're going to go for one now, and then we're going to change it later. So this is going to be another law where what's best for pushing centralization is different than what's best for pushing plutocracy. So we're going to ask for another law change, and we are going to go after another one of these is aristocratic court. We want to get off of this, but we want to go itinerant court, and this gives decentralization. We could go legislative efficiency early on, though. But what we are going to be going is distribution of power from traditional distribution, gives us decentralization, onto, for now, favor the ruler. We might go favor the wealthy if we need to in order to get a positive plutocracy trend, but for now we would prefer the crown power, especially because we are under 20% crown, or we're under 25% crown power here. So we will have another opportunity here. We're going to click up on serfdom, and so we have Oh man, we could even go lessen levy obligations. I mean, we still have that truce with the Teutonic Order. I don't think we'll fight anyone anytime soon. If we get decked on, this would be bad. But this is kind of super high rolling as much support as we, like, reasonably possibly can. We could go for a couple more law changes, I guess. So for this, we do want to get off of martial society, and we also want to get off of the mining law. The mining law is just going to be strictly better going on to burgher-controlled mining operation, because we'll be getting off the aristocracy towards the plutocracy. I guess we'll save ourselves a headache later by doing that now. So we'll ask for law changes here, and we will go off from the mining law onto the burgher-controlled mining operation, which is going to bring us to around a 0.3 trend towards aristocracy. And now we'll have a little bit of a think what we want to do, because we can click this, but we don't necessarily need to click this. And I don't know, I wasn't expecting to pass 3 laws with our first parliament here, but this is an example of something you could in theory re-roll for, getting better parliaments in order to do this, pass this many laws at once. And so we'll have a little bit of a look at what we maybe want to change. So we're going to be swapping around multiple laws multiple times, so I think we're going to go for lessen levy obligations here, and go for another law change. We should be able, I guess we maybe should have gone preserve spiritualists first, but we run into it. We're not going to get another law change here. A little bit unfortunate, but okay. We maybe bink an event, but we were going to go for the one that increases our max tax. Our nobles are a little bit upset with us right now, so this is a little bit unfortunate. Normally we would look to put in a privilege that they like, that we want them to have anyways, but considering we have to fight them later and they are going to be difficult, we are not going to put in a privilege. So that is going to be our parliament. If they rev, they rev, but we have an ally in Lithuania to help us, and so that will work for us. We had an ally, we had a friend in Hungary, no more. We do get a personal union. Or is this a marriage union? I think this is just a marriage union. So this is not a full-blown personal... Oh, it is a full-blown personal union. Okay, okay, okay. We will improve relations with Hungary, though, because we do want to get them back as an ally later. And we'll improve relations here. We do have a little bit of extra float on our diplomats. Not currently using all of it, because we do need to... We do have those extra relations that are forcing us to use the slider. We would hope to, or we would like to, get the slider down. But overall, budget's looking okay. We would like to put in another estate privilege for the peasants, because we could tax them a little bit more, but that is fine enough. We're losing support, so that's probably going to be it for us. But overall, a very, very solid thing. We're getting 3 law changes in, and so this is really going to kind of make things go better for us. What is this? We get a CB on this guy. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Oh, we get 10 support here. Can we fight Bohemia right now? Well, first of all, they're friends with us. Second of all, they're a lot stronger than us. How long does this CB last? 4 years. I'm not sure. We can't do this having clicked the button. So this is maybe an event that just consistently fires that we were not aware of. That is something to play around in future Poland runs. The problem is we click the event for us getting less levies. So we're really weak right now. And what we would have wanted, knowing this event is coming through, if we wanted to fight Bohemia, which maybe this could be an improvement one could make, is we would want to have increased, done for ask for larger levies, because this really gives you a ton of power. I mean, we could click 2 buttons and go support larger levies. And then let's see what the predictor's not always good, but we could see what the predictor has to say here. I don't think we can fight all these guys, bro. Even with the increased levies. We shouldn't have clicked those additional buttons. We're gonna have a rev now. I mean, we'll get the CB in case something changes, but I don't think that's going to work out for us. So, a little bit unfortunate. We're almost certainly going to have a rev now that we have so much dissidence in the Szlachta. So what we will do is we will avoid spending extra stuff, because the rev will brick the things you are building, and we'll have to fight down this rev. But that's going to be fairly straightforward, especially with the help of Lithuania, and this will restore their satisfaction at the end of it. It just means things get messed up a little bit. You have you get a little bit of damage to your prosperity, but overall that's not going to be too big a factor for us. We do want to make sure that this finishes, but it looks like this finishes, so we're just going to bank up and fight this rev and have Lithuania help us out. The revs kind of calmed down a bit because we got an event to bink better approval on these guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to start building settlements. Settlements are a building that gives migration attraction and quite a lot of pop growth. A very powerful building. We will just slap as many down as possible here, even in our subjects, because we're planning on annexing them, right? And so this is going to help us with the pop growth department. We're building a little bit of a mason here. This is coming along quite nicely on the annexation. A little bit, I mean, it's possible. Ooh, this is a little bit of an interesting one. So we have language of pleading. If I recall correctly, common language of pleading might have... Okay, it has free subjects versus serfdom sort of consideration, as well as additional satisfaction equilibrium. We are, I believe, Catholic, and so I'm not sure what exactly we have in terms of our language law. We would just kind of like stab, and common language, I think, does give peasant satisfaction. I don't think we want to go serfdom, so let's go in on this one, and so that'll be good for us. We are going to try and keep an eye on this. We don't want... We can see which places are likely to rev. We do not want to be building in these places when the rev happens, though, because they will break our constructions. Alright, so we get the new age hit. We've talked about it a bit in some of our other runs, so I don't want to go over it too much, but I think we're just going to go administrative focus. For most focuses, or for most people, I do think it is better. We will like the proximity cost. That is kind of a nice one. It's a bit of a small effect before you have more sources of proximity cost, but it will be good eventually. Cost of court's nice, legislative efficiency's nice, literacy's nice. They're all pretty good. I do think that in terms of fighting early on, with levies being as good as they are early on, and if they stay really good for the first 3 ages, there's maybe something to the military ones, but it's generally for the levies, and so it does fall off later. It also is for the horses, which, to be fair, does mean Poland will be a little bit better on the military. So I think going the military focus is maybe reasonable. Also, tolerance ideas is nice considering the religious situation you have going on in Poland. But we're going to go administrative focus. But let's maybe go and take a look at... Oh, the union's dead. Womp womp. If we take a look at kind of what we have going on religious-wise, the tolerance of heretics and heathens would help us over here in both of these. Now, we did get a message that our daughter had come of age, and we are willing to annoy ourselves quite a bit here. We are willing to annoy ourselves for the sake of the crown, and that is because everyone is going to ask to marry this lovely, lovely daughter of ours. However, we want her in the cabinet. This is going to cost us 20 legitimacy. This is no small thing, but by putting her in the cabinet, we will be able to gain more crown power. And so, let's do that with her for now. Can we arrange a royal marriage for ourselves? Yes, we are no longer in mourning. Let's marry up in France. That seems fine enough. Ooh, she's kind of getting up there, eh? In terms of age, I guess let's go for it. We do want more kids. Let's go with this. Let's go with this. We do want more kids. And also, the cabinet, we can now put in one of these. Now, as it stands right now, we have a plutocracy guy. This guy is changing societal values. We're stabilizing the country as well. He's not very good at his job, so maybe we swap him, and we can swap onto our lovely, lovely daughter. Now that we've swapped onto her, we can go over and take a look. Hey, we're at 25% crown power, so already things are looking up, partially from swapping off of the distribution of power, right? Now we're favoring the ruler as well, plus 20% the Placidium Regium also helping out here. And look, another 12.5% from having our daughter in the cabinet. So this is fantastic. We are also going to build one unit. It doesn't really matter what we build. I think since we're playing Poland, we'll build a horse. But what we are going to have here is when we make our ruler in charge of this, we'll get another 25%. So as time goes on, and we get the month tick, our daughter in the cabinet is giving us 2%. If we get another 4% from our ruler, we will be at 31%. So this is kind of what's going on. Now, this is the annoying part. We cannot set her as ineligible for marriage So we are going to get inundated every month with marriage offers. So for tech here, we are going to beeline formal city rights and then follow that with the follow-work system. We really like the follow-work system, but here we're going to get some RGO size and expand farming cost size. So this is really nice because this counts the wool. So minus 25% is going to be useful. Also discounts on the founding of cities and urban areas, which we have basically none, so we're going to need a lot of that. Also maximum RGO in towns and cities. The food production is kind of whatever. Maximum RGO size. All of this is pretty good, and so we're going to be going for that there. After this, I think we just want Diplo annexation cost. Something like this. Actually, we can probably make an argument for Diplo annexation cost first. It is closer on the tree. I think we'll get a second, but this will be the next thing we go for, as well as making sure that we do have the burger. I think we want burger, what is it, not tax rate, the burger literacy, which is kicking around here somewhere. There it is. So let's get that too, and that will be kind of our research for some time here. Subject opinion and loyalty is kind of nice. Improved relations also kind of nice, but that's what we're cooking with. And we're kind of thinking of how we're going to go about going after the Teutonic Order. We do want to fight them. We are stronger than them in Bohemia. We can use this as a lever to fight Bohemia. We still have a truce with the Teutons, so we don't want to declare right now, but this is something we're mulling over and thinking about here in terms of the best way to go at them. If we co-CB Bohemia, we will not be able to fight them very easily because of Bohemia's allies, or if we declare on the place where we have claims here, we will also not be able to do very much. But if we just declare on the Teutonic Order and we just have to fight Bohemia, it looks like we're in pretty good shape. And so this is something we are really considering here, especially because our CB is claims on province, right? So we will have a fat discount. And so we go for the CB, but then we just take a bunch of Bohemian subject territory, I think, because I do think their subjects get pulled in here. And if not, we can, you know, just break up Bohemia and take some stuff from them. So that's kind of what we have on our mind right here. So we have a little bit of a nuanced interaction here. We are building a bailiff right here, which gives local proximity soars plus 20. On top of that, we are building a road from our only other town to that bailiff. So the bailiff's going to give 20 local proximity, and then the connection between the two will cost less than 20 because it is over flatland and grassland. And so this will make it so that this place gets just a spot, just a little bit of proximity, which will increase our control in there very slightly. So that's going to be nice for us. Once this completes, we will be able to see just how good a proximity score is. Of course, the marriage offers keep coming in, brother, but they are not going to be answered. And so with this road constructed, we will see that, hey, this is a source of proximity here. The cost of this segment is 17, so that makes... Oh god, it's 17. It's so marginal, but that means that this place has 3 proximities, so it will have another, basically 2 control or something like this in terms of its max control. It hasn't come into effect yet, or has it? No, it hasn't come into effect yet because the bailiff's not employed, but this will go from 14 to 16, which, to be fair, is like 12% more control than it had before. So this will help out with the crown power a little bit because, generally speaking, look at this. 17 nobles versus 252 nobles. So by pushing up the crown power, we are helping to avoid this negative crown power malice, and it is more important in areas that have a ton of burghers, clergy, and nobles, which in our case is this one other rural area that we have, or sorry, urban area that we have other than Krakow. Also, this is a reason why we're focused on building in Krakow as well, is because we have more crown power here, we have more control here, so there's no balance here. It's gone. There's disappeared. There's nothing there. And so we will probably prolong building other urban areas just slightly relative to other runs, and then only build them adjacent to Krakow, at least until we get through our disaster probably, or unless something is looking particularly lucrative. Alright, so we are switching from 0 investment in stab to a full investment in stab, with the understanding that our disaster is probably not that far off, and we want to do a couple of government reform swaps, so this is going to be nice. I think we made a little bit of a mistake, or I made a little bit of a mistake earlier when we were talking about, or putting in our language of pleading law. We went common, because wanted the peasant status of faction equilibrium. I think we're actually kind of enjoying being a little bit trending towards serfdom right now and enjoying a rather large serfdom start. So with our parliament, we're probably going to look to swap this back. But with our stability, the whole idea here is that we want to swap off of these. This is giving us progression towards serfdom, so I don't think we're going to swap it immediately, although we can if we swap that law, or we will swap it in a few months. But this one we're going to swap out, and each one of these swaps is 20 stabs. So we want to stay in the positive stab. Being in negative stab is a little bit nasty, so the first one we're going to go after is going to be Royal Decree, because it gives us more trend towards centralization, right? So let's put that in. That will be our first one. And our second one, which we are not going to do just yet, but we will do kind of behind the scenes, is we're going to go plutocratic ethos for the trend towards plutocracy. So really all in investing in this. Now, autocracy is maybe kind of attractive because the crown power, but it gives us trend towards aristocracy. We might use this at the last minute to get a little bit of extra crown power. This is kind of a little bit of in our back pocket, 10% crown power we can go for, but we're not going to do it in an immediate fashion. So taking a look here, we have a total of a trend of 55 plus what we just put in, which will trend towards 65. And then when we have this going on, we'll get another 10 here. So taking a look here, we have the 2 noble rolls are relatively good, or they're not bad. They are what they are. We would like to enjoy the farming estates. This is pretty good. And so we will click that. And then there's nothing insane on the other rolls that we had. And then you'll see that we get plus 10 here. So really, over the course of the next 6 months, we're going to get like around 4 to 5 centralization. So really coming up at a quick clip. And then let's take a look at what we have to potentially roll with. Increase opinion, we're definitely going to put that in. We're going to try and get up to 100 ball is ideal. And I think we could do this. Preserve traditional ideas will bring us there, I think. So we'll go for the law change and we'll swap our language of pleading. We'll admit defeat, that we made a mistake, and we would prefer to have the trend towards serfdom, which will stop our trend away from serfdom in its tracks here. So that's going to be good for us. When we get that law fully in, we will change our government reform, and we will stay comfortably on this level of serfdom, which will give us some max tax, some raw materials, and some supply limit. And then what else we want to go for is we want to have a really smooth war experience against the Teutons, I think. Because as it stands now, Bohemia isn't going to side with them, but often this will be the case with the AI where they will side with them anyways. Actually, you know what? Maybe we just want to pass this for the stab, because failing it gives us a stab hit. I think we're going to go on to traditional ideas, and then we're just going to look to actually pass this parliament through. If we get an event that will bink us negative, what we'll do is we'll ask for larger levies, but as long as it stands with this as it is, we will just look to actually pass this. And what this fund farming estates gives us is a discount on expanding farming costs. So we can come in and we can expand out a whole bunch of wool, provided that we don't really have anything expensive. So coming in here, it should be cheaper than 30. Yeah, so this is a really steep discount. We have both the lumber discount and the other discount. So what we'll do is we'll peel off a couple months. That way we accrue up some gold, and then we'll expand basically all the wool around here in a circle once we have about 150 gold. And so this will be a relatively productive sort of thing. And then I guess what we can do is declare war on these guys now, considering... Oh no, wait. We still have to wait out this truce. It's very, very soon, though. Something worth noting is that because you have these parliaments that discount various things, it can be worthwhile to avoid spending money right when you know a parliament's going to pop, but we're going to declare war on these guys. I think we might even be able to fight Boho and them combined. I don't know why I was kind of spazzing out. Just kind of our first war. He's got some subjects, but none of them have too much in the way of levies. We will raise all of our levies here, and we will have a little bit of a go at him. We are going to not fight with this guy because we don't want our ruler to die here, and he is just there. This guy's not very effective anyways. The horsemen aren't very effective versus the levies this early into the game, and what we want him for is just increasing crown power. So we'll come on over, and we will get all of our troops together, and kind of, once merged, we'll do this and this, and we'll have a little bit of a lookout here. We just want to find his army and then go for it, rather than trying to siege something down immediately, because he's going to show his face at some point here, and we want to kind of be in the middle of stuff. But early on, you get so much from winning wars that is really, really valuable to win, or sorry, winning battles that is really valuable to win battles. And also, we don't have very many forts, so just kind of trading or base racing is not really an option for us. We want to really try to find where his army is, but it looks like he might not have it. We're only seeing forces of his subjects, so it's looking like we maybe have a little bit of a go at the capital and then adjust if needed. But this really should be a very straightforward war if that's going to be the case. Alright, so we got to think about what we want in the peace deal then. Alright, I'm going to keep it real. We were fighting the war, Boho joined, and then we were like, oh, we got this. And then we saw after their mobilization, we saw what was going on. And they had 30,000 troops, which we were really not expecting. We have 16,000 total, and that was just Bohemia, let alone all their subjects, that had this amount. So we did save scum back to here. But I'd like to show why they have so many troops, or way more troops, because the AI's actually improved quite a bit since we last saw what they were doing, and they are doing the cheese, the very same cheese we are doing in some of our other kind of games or runs that we have run starts for, which, man, this control pattern looks a little bit weird. There's a reason for this. Look, the maximum control here is 52. Why do they have 91 control? They are doing the same cheese where they move around the cabinet action, and then as soon as it gets high enough, they move it around somewhere else. So they have a bunch of places. Well, this place actually has that amount of control. But they are shuffling it around to maximize control. And control throttles how much, not manpower, but yeah, I mean, it does throttle manpower, but it throttles your levy size. So they have this really high density population area that has really high control, and so they have these big fat stacks. So we went back, and we got in our loud car outside, and we tried to fight the war as fast as possible, and this is kind of the point we got to where Boho joined again. It's not super transparent because from the predictor we saw that Boho wasn't going to join, but very often the AI will just late join against you. And so in retrospect, we probably shouldn't have even tried to fight this war at all, but we've gotten to the situation we're at now where Boho just joined, but we still have a positive war score demand because Boho hasn't mobilized yet, so they don't realize we could absolutely, and by we I mean they, could absolutely crush us, because there's no army mobilized yet. So we'll have to have a little bit of a think on what we want to try and take off of them. The really funny thing is we could actually take a bunch of stuff from Bohemia. I don't think we're going to do that, because that seems unthemey and strange, but it might be correct to just do this to Bohemia. And that's certainly a funny peace deal, and it's certainly a more valuable peace deal. Man, I'm almost convincing myself we should do it now, actually. We can't get... well, maybe we'll take this, actually, even. It's very cute. We'll have a little bit of a think what we want, but just wanted to kind of cover exactly what happened, and also to say, in the future, or if we were doing this again, the way we would probably approach this is trying to befriend Bohemia, and then using the hostile action isolate from allies in order to make the Teutonic Order soft and isolated, just the way we like them. And so this would have been a better approach than what we did. As it stands, we did need to reload, but we're not going to restart the run to have it be, like, clean or something to this effect. So I think we're going to go for this chunk here. Seems like a pretty good chunk. We'll get to release Warmia and then feed them all the territory that we have taken here, and we maintain our claims. We don't take all of our claims, so we will be able to come back with a peace deal later, and we'll probably try and improve relations with Bohemia so that we can, you know, ally them and look to fight the second war a little bit more properly. This is kind of the effects here. We are using the diplomatic action to get more diplomats, and also maxing out our Diplo slider to minimize the antagonism we get on all these other people. So it's just the people who really share a lot in common that we are going to get hit with the antagonism, but we will call this a day. We will call that a war, and we will avoid the great calamity of getting absolutely clapped by the AI who has ascended and is actually using strong strategies, which are incredibly tedious, but also really strong. Fascinating to see this. We've seen... over the course of development of the game, I've seen the AI in a lot of different states, but they're cooking with gas with this one. So we're building a little bit more infrastructure, going for some bridges along the river kind of vein that we have for propagating control. We're also building roads out to the left, looking to push a little bit more control our way. We could use the increased control cabinet action, but it's really better when you have really fat, big provinces, and we don't really have that. Maybe it's okay, but we're really trying to make our stab go up a whole lot to make the future quite a bit easier. Also, the Black Plague has started, so that is going to be a happy, fun time that we're going to have going very soon. And we have 2 little subjects over here, which are busy integrating the land, or are going to be integrating the land soon after we had released them. And we're just going to keep feeding them every 5 years, take a big chunk out of the Teutonic Order, because we still have claims on them. So we can use a spy network to make a CB later on, because we have claims on province. So this is going to be really valuable for us to allow us to keep going for wars. I mean, I think that if we somehow got a lot stronger, we might be able to fight Bohemia, but we're not anywhere near them at this juncture. So that's kind of the way things stand. We're going to continue to try and focus on building in... we stopped building a little bit in Krakow because we have this burghers being out, and we don't really want to make new urban areas. So this is one of the reasons we're kind of focused on roads here. But also, we don't want to build a bunch of stuff that... We don't want to build a bunch of stuff that all of them are going to die to the Black Death in very short order. And so we don't want to expand a bunch of extra pops that are going to be qualified, and then we're going to lose 40 to 50% of those qualifications, so probably close to 50. So for the next few constructions, and also post-Black Death, we're going to be mainly building villages. We're going to be building villages where we're expecting to not urbanize later, so on top of good resources like the iron. And also what this will do is this will give us an additional buffer if we build them now, because the villages will employ up additional laborers past what we need them for, and so we will over-promote laborers, and so when half of them die, we will have additional ones relative to what we would have otherwise. So the Black Death spreads to us. We did get started on our hospital a little late, I think. We are going to do segregate the infected. If we had access to incense, expel the sick would be better, especially if we have money, but we neither have access to incense nor do we have money, so we're going to segregate the infected, giving a little bit of defense to all of our guys, and we're going to move our court into hiding. We kind of don't want our king to die. We did invest a bit into him actually having the thingamajig, and by the thingamajig, I mean the hovering the crown power. We can take a look at it. The enacted Placidium Regium, which is giving us a crown power, and also his stats are freaking insane. So we do want him to survive, so we will move him into hiding, and not only that, we will put someone else in charge of this army for the time being as this starts to ravage our nation. And of course, who could say Black Death without saying, I want your daughter's hand in marriage, because that's how I roll. Yep. We have a little civil war. Not to be bothered, our new ally of Bohemia will help us out. So we'll say, sure dog, come please help us. We could use it. Except we probably won't need to, because generally speaking, the AI is a little bit weak in terms of the revs, because they don't start out with a lot of control, and so generally speaking, the armies just aren't that strong. So we'll have a little bit of a go here, and with the combination of Bohemia and our guys, we should be able to handle it pretty straightforwardly. We're going to lose some guys, but, well, we're going to lose some guys because we have the Black Plague dog. Also, the armies can get infected and move things around. Looks like, uh-oh, did our ruler die? Did our ruler die? Not like this. Okay, the follow-up guy is fairly good. It does look like... Wait, is this a new king? Is this part of a union with someone else? Whose king is this? Is this Hungary's king? Yeah, okay. Fair enough. We get a personal union. Sounds good to me. He is a little bit better. This also changes our succession law. So that is maybe, if it's the same as theirs, we maybe have a long-standing union. All right, fair enough. So we got that going. We will continue on. Looks like the Black Death claimed another one, which unfortunate. But this rebellion is going to be very, very straightforward. Croatia decided to intervene. What is this, dog? And we have our disaster. Going to pop soon, 2% each month. You cannot avoid it. It is inevitable. We don't want to take the stab hit. Unfortunate, we don't want to take like either of the hits, but we are really cranking in both the stab and the legitimacy in anticipation of this, and we have been saving a bank because spending during the Black Plague is just generally not that effective anyways, and so this should be pretty straightforward and over, and then we will be in our disaster right quick. So for our parliament, it's a little bit awkward, but we are going to change off of the distribution of power, favor the ruler, in favor of favor the wealthy for the plutocratic trend. I think that it won't be until our next parliament we are able to do as like the full suite of law changes that we want, and so as a consequence, we want to get one of them in, and the reason being is that is going to get us a trend of an additional 10 towards plutocracy, which is going to be valuable. We are currently 40 away, but I don't even think that we have given out all of the privileges that we have available for this, because there's not much a point when you can't get to moving in one direction. So you can see we have plutocracy here. Let's put in, oh, we don't want this because we're currently centralizing, but we can put this in now, get things a little bit more situated. We do dip in crown power. Unfortunately, we not only don't have our ruler in charge of an army, we also don't have our person in the cabinet anymore, so a little bit of a low roll, in the sense that we really don't want our guy to die right before this this pops, or we don't want our leader, because we were sitting at 33 crown power, now we're at 18%. To be fair, some of that is the change that we had just made, but some of it is just the fact that we don't have an additional 37% crown power when the only modifiers we have, or 37%, 25% from having our king leading an army, 12.5% from having one of our crown power characters in cabinet, and then we lost an additional 20% modifier that we had. So we really don't have a lot of modifiers here that we're working with, but we're working towards getting some centralization modifiers here, and so those will be coming in, I think, at next tick, because we're currently towards decentralization, so this is going to represent a new era where we are now moving towards centralization. They finally get it, that you have to centralize. So this is going to start generating us crown power. At the maximum, this gives us plus 50. So that is going to be a lot, and so as we trend towards that, we should be able to kind of pull back what we're doing. We're also expending in a whole bunch of different ways. You can see we're making basically no money. We have Diplo spending is up. We had forgotten to build this, which we needed to build earlier. Now we don't have enough gold. We're trying to import the gold, and we'll continue to try and do so. Our route's getting canceled. We're going to keep putting it in and try and get some gold in the market so that we can make this work. Let's give them food rights. For whatever reason, they have some sort of war going on. Oh, we have some sort of war going on. Oh, that's this war. Okay, that's over now. Alright, the rebels are done. The rebels are crushed. We crushed the rebel alliance. What is this? Ruler in Hungary is giving a bunch of privileges we don't want and giving us a bunch of aristocracy, and notably the one we really care about is this, a trend towards aristocracy, which is going to be uncomfortable. I think we had planned that this would happen, or we were aware that this would happen, but we are going to have now a bigger trend towards aristocracy. Is going to be pretty nasty. We're at full aristocracy, and so when this fires, this will be a little bit nasty. Incidentally, there are better rolls that we can get than what we have gotten, but estate equilibrium is minus 10%, monthly legitimacy, this is going to be bad. Oh, I didn't even notice this monthly progress towards aristocracy. That is painful. Okay, but I think we can... That is painful. It gives you some tools to deal with it, but it is going to be quite a big deal. We get a bunch of diplomats. I think we're going to start annexing another boy? Maybe? No, we're fine. So, what I was trying to say is you can roll RNG where you get these massive government reforms that are positive before getting the rise of Szlachta. It's just that I think that we can't do this anymore now that our ruler has died. So you could probably restart to move around the RNG a little bit. But okay, we get a hostile confederation, which is a continuation of these events where we will have a couple of choices. We can give negative satisfaction in exchange for centralization, kind of interested in doing that, or we can concede and lose a whole bunch of control. Now, losing a whole bunch of control is not necessarily the end of the world. We could use a cabinet action to bring it on up, but we do want the centralization, and we want it to kick up really quick. And so this is going to give us an uprising. We just dealt with one. Before this pops, let's delete that castle, eh? That way we don't have to deal with that again. So, actually, let's double check that they're not taking Krakow. They're not taking Krakow, so this is fine. We have no problem fighting this again. It'll just be another one of these. We can call in Bohemia to aid us yet again, and this should be fairly short work. So the results of the plague are that we lose only a third of our pops, which is pretty good. A little bit shocking to not see more die. Was expecting a lot worse. So, looking at the disaster, which has somehow not fired yet, I'm guessing that if you want to re-roll and save scum a whole bunch, the thing to do is just to not let this guy die until you roll the event for massive reforms, something like this. Or you just completely avoid the Hungarian Union. I think we're gonna just go through this Hungarian Union and figure our way out through here, but he is the leader of the Union, we are not, and so we are voting for stuff like preventing unified succession. He has, in fact, enabled unified succession, which we do not like, and so now we can't change our heir. We might find ourselves in a little bit of trouble, a little bit of a tussle. Now, we can deck them, and so we can eventually ask for a CB and just fight our way out, I am guessing, because who would go to war with themselves? But this is not in a context we've found ourselves in before. We can gain another 2 diplomats. We're already way over and floating. I think what we'll do is we are going to decrease... we finally finished it. So, we had put off building it, and then we kind of forgot to build it, but this is a really important building. It gives you 2 monthly diplomats, and so what we will be able to do is we will be able to use these diplomats for various things. I think we're going to start integrating one of our subjects, or maybe 2 of our subjects, and just keep this massive floating of things. We do want to... Yeah, we are almost enough favors to be able to go after them, and we do not need to build a buy network anymore because we are going to do regular claims on province for Danzig, and then I think we will have, we still have 0.2 left. We'll find some people to improve relations with, actually. Let's go with them. Let's go with Austria, I think. That should be good. Let's go with Lithuania. Maybe don't get too friendly with Lithuania, and I think that we are now at an even kind of thing. We'll see if we have any subjects who are upset with us that would prevent us from annexing them. We actually see a few that are upset with us, so why don't we go after improving relations with some of them, and we will just float this even balance that we have going on here. As we continue to basically just wait for the event, or for our parliament for the most part. We are trying to build up a really large amount of stab, and there's the parliament right on cue. And we are almost done pushing as much towards centralization as we possibly can. Once we have this, we can swap some stuff up that will give us more plutocracy trend, but you can see 0.2, that's not too bad, so we will have a little bit of a go and see what we roll. Now, I don't think we need to just absolutely make sure that we get as much support as possible. If we wanted to do something a little bit different, I don't think that we do. None of these really grab at us, except for maybe support the state, which gives us a temporary 50% crown power and would give him some administrative and this type of ability. It will require a lot of support to pass, so this is basically like saying we don't want to pass a law, but improving this guy's stats when he is our ruler is maybe a little bit reasonable, considering he is quite young. We'll have a little bit of a think. So we're going to go with Sponsor the Noble Arts here. It's actually pretty nice to get the extra satisfaction recovery, because this generally allows you to put in some privileges without really upsetting the nobles, or you will get some recovery in that regard. We are also going to, serfdom movement. We are happy to hit this, and then we are going to dig a little bit in search of some plutocracy. Just kidding. Never plutocracy, never ever. So we can either pass this or not. It's kind of our choice here. A lot of the law changes we want to do after we finish pushing towards centralization, which is coming up on the horizon, especially with the extra 0.1 we are getting from the parliament. So I'm thinking that we're actually just going to let this go through and really continue to build up this stability, because if we have, because we lose 7 if we fail the debate with all the debates, because if we have enough stab, we can actually we could actually have an additional tool where we can pull one of these out, even though it's going to be an enormous amount of privilege. If we are over 48 stab, we can do it. I don't think we want to go to minus 100 stab, so I don't think we would, but this is something that we can do. We also see we have really low burger satisfaction, and we know that we are recovering this quite quickly, so we're probably going to hand out one of these to them. I think that we will go for not this until we are done centralizing, but I think we'll go for this. Just to kind of bring them on up in terms of happiness. The nobles are upset. We might hit a nobles rebellion, but it is really nice that we will gain from this parliament 6 times this, so a little over 20 satisfaction in a pretty short period of time. And we are basically guaranteed to succeed in passing this. So, in pretty good shape for this. Still just kind of waiting for this. This is the axe that's over our head for forever, but I suppose the longer it takes, the better it is for us, because... Oh, this is an interesting one. We'll have a little bit of a think where we want to spend our stuff, because we could go additional taxes. We do have a little bit of satisfaction over the current max tax. So let's go additional taxes, and then this is going to give us an additional 25%. We kind of just like giving out the urban parliament seat anyways. It buys goods. I think that we have to pay for it, but these are really kind of good tier goods to have buy orders for. We don't really care that burghers get power, and so it's kind of whatever. So we'll request additional taxes, and then we'll grant these. That'll be good for us, and now we will be making a decent chunk of money, up to 25 ducats. We also made our second city. It's going to be kind of a little bit on the slow side, but it is what it is. Oh, did we read that parliament? That parliament might progress us towards aristocracy. I forget, but I guess it doesn't matter because we're already 100, so not going to be too relevant. And then we're keeping our eye on this. We have another 20 months before we will have maxed out our centralization via just using the trend and using the cabinet action, at which point we will swap it over to something else. Just absolutely insane that we haven't rolled this yet. I feel like we've taken so many months, and it's 2% roll each time. When you want the event to fire, it never does, and when you don't want it to fire, it always does. Maybe I'm going crazy, but I could have sworn we started to create a CB, and I have a recording of it, and now we're not creating it anymore, so I guess we're going to do this, and we're going to up our slider a little bit to be able to pay for the upkeep. Actually, let's not pay for the upkeep. We will just get some people to come back later, but a little bit weird. That might be a bug. I feel like we put in ask for CB, but I'm not 100% sure. Alright, here it comes. Rise of the Szlachta. Right on schedule, except it was way late. But we had a bunch of stab going into it, so now we don't have to have a big negative stab thing, and we will recover this pretty quickly. We will be, I'm assuming, losing some money relative to where we were before. Yeah, we're not even losing money. And we get a push for plutocracy button, which we can just keep on pressing, just constantly. Except for we have to wait a little bit of time. But it's only like a year, and we can push it all the way to 24, right? Because we've already pushed so much of this trend down, and this is what we're trying to get, is we're trying to get, in order to end this, there's a few ways to do it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get we're trying to get 50 crown power. I do believe that this is one of the requirements. We could either get the noble estate greater than certain power and also less than 99 aristocracy. This is the fail route. We can do the burghers have greater than XYZ estate power, or get 50 positive plutocracy. This would be a little bit tough, but this is definitely possible. Or we can get crown power has greater than 36%. Wow, that's super doable. Or we can give them golden liberty, and it will just end immediately. Well, as long as we can get any amount of positive plutocracy, this one will be really easy, because we just keep clicking the button every every year. We'll just push for plutocracy every time. So that will be fairly straightforward. We don't actually want them to lose satisfaction, so we'll go for that. We'd rather not rev. Actually, I think we're kind of okay revving. I think we're kind of okay revving, because we have an ally, we have a friend, this guy, to help us deal with it. So that shouldn't be too big a problem, but this is what we came for. The thing is if you don't have very much plutocracy trend, we'll get some immigrants. If you don't have very much plutocracy trend, or if you have way too much aristocracy trend, once you get to like 40 aristocracy, if you have 40 trend, then you like spend 10, push it, and then it pushes back 4.5, right? And so we don't even have to be full on the plutocracy side of things to actually be able to push it that way. We just have to have a small enough trend that is not going to be very significant over the course of a year. And so, yeah. And also, these guys will get a lot weaker as we click the button a whole bunch. But I think we're on the point, yep, where we can free up that cabinet action. Now, the thing is it's not going to be useful yet. It's not going to be useful yet. This cabinet action for changing societal values, we didn't want to put in an aristocrat, but I suppose actually it's not the biggest deal. Let's do it. But we did not... Changing societal values won't be useful right now because we can't push this to be a positive trend, but we will be able to after the next parliament. And it doesn't look like there's anything else we can push. I guess we can push innovative. I guess we're okay with that, but we kind of like stab being a cheap thing right now, and that would make it more expensive. So I guess it's actually just finding a different thing to do with the cabinet. We could do the thing that Bohemia was doing, which is just shuffle around and increase province control, which is quite powerful, and it's actually also good for increasing crown power. Let's do it. We're just going to try and shuffle this around. What it's going to do is, if we take a look here, we're going to now have 81 maximum control. We're going to let it build up, and then we're going to move it. And we're going to do this in all of our high pop areas, so mainly around here, but maybe over here as well. And this will increase our crown power, because us getting to 36 crown power is also something that could be very easy to do, because we will get a bunch of events like this. Struggles of power are never a quiet matter. What? Say that louder, please. More often than not, clashes between the most prominent estates escalate into open conflicts, such as the unfortunate case as the members of the Szlachta, and how do we pronounce this, but we're probably not pronouncing Szlachta correctly, etc. So we can gain a little bit of stab and gain some plutocracy, and the Szlachta will get upset, and we get Stronghold of the Burghers, which gives possible burghers. Let's pull this over so my big fat head isn't blocking it. It gives possible burghers, which will increase their power. Oh, wow. And it does this in Krakow? That's going to give them so much power. Right now, they don't have much power. We actually even... Let's check and see if they don't have an estate of privilege that we dislike. Because it'll get really expensive to revoke stuff from them once they get a lot of power. And I have a sneaking suspicion that's going to be a bit of a vibe. Like this. How did we not notice this? This is so... I didn't realize they started with this. God. We know about this one because of Hungary. We should have read a little bit closer. This is actually really bad for us. So let's pull it out for 28. Stab. And then we will do this before we make them way more powerful. Yikes, 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 yikes. So... that's real bad. Maybe we will need to put in a clip towards the beginning where we say that we forgot to pull that out for like forever and we should have done it way earlier. I think we need to do that. That's kind of a big one. But minus 10 control is a super big deal. We're kind of playing a little bit fast here. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, this is easy peasy. Aristocracy is already down at 50. Now, we're not going to declare war on Poland because we're probably going to have to fight a rebel here. But, okay. Enacted economic policy from the Union. How about no? How about let's not do that? And we have right on schedule our parliament, which is going to be nice for us. Promote urbanization is really nice when you pass it, because it gives you a town. Oh, that's so painful. The reason why it's really painful is because we want... it's so painful. We want points, though. We're going to increase ties to neighbors. What we can do is we can put our cabinet action back on this and wait for 5 months and then click all the buttons, which I think is what we're going to do for a little bit of extra centralization push, because we're getting the additional 0.1 from the cabinet right now, so we're now getting 0.7 progression. So we're going to do this. We're going to wait until the end of the parliament, and then we're going to click all the buttons. What does this guy want? Gold in exchange for a change of heart. They offer us 1 ducat. 1 ducat. Just the one. But we will be back with our parliament. Alright, we get an opportunity for radical reforms. And this is the event that you probably want to fire before you have your ruler die, because this maybe puts you in a bit of a better position here. But we will say, look, it's time for radical things to happen, changes to be made. But oh no, what will look what? How can we pay for this? How can we pay for this? Not the money, we got plenty of that. But it would be so terrible if our estate satisfaction went all the way from 9 to 0. Oh, I don't know if we can afford this. And then, oh no, look at this. We have to pay another 20 satisfaction. If we do this, it will go from 0 to 0. What will we do? What will we do? Okay, we're obviously going to choose the greatly reformed version of this, but we are going to get a bunch of these events in succession here as part of the flavor, and as part of the flavor, we get a civil war. We will call in Boho, and we will raise the standards. We will raise the bar. Okay, but also we gotta click some buttons. We gotta click some buttons because it's time to handle our parliament stuff. So the reason we had this in is because this is we're gonna say goodbye to our centralization trend. We're no longer gonna gain anything from our centralization trend, and so as a consequence, we wanted to squeeze the last little bits of it we could out. We're gonna go to plutocracy, and now we are going to look to change a couple of laws. We have increased opinion. Oh, we even get plutocratic movement, so that's gonna be nice for us. We're gonna go law changes. The first of which we're gonna go for an actual really good law, which is that we need to change our court customs off of the aristocratic one to the itinerant court. This is what we will do. We're making sure that we're getting it off the estates. We will go for increased opinion. Contain professional armies is fine enough. Can we do contain banking? We'll preserve traditional ideas. We will go plutocratic movement, which we want to click anyways. And then after this, we will be able to change another law. Now, if I recall correctly, it is our legal code that is giving us centralization. We could change this, which is... I know there's another one that we can change for more... yeah, this is the one. We have aristocracy trend. We were doing this so we would have centralization trend. Now we will change this on to anything that doesn't give that. So let's go autonomous councils. And so now... with those changed, and they will change some more if I recall correctly, we actually have a positive trend towards plutocracy of 0.17, which is very nice, because now we won't backslide as we click the button over and over. In fact, we didn't even need to do all of these, I don't think, so... we did one more than we had to. That was actually maybe even a little bit of a mistake. We got ahead of ourselves. We just saw all the juice that we could get, and we said, hey, we want the squeeze. So we need radical reforms, of course, as radical as possible. Greatly increase the quality of the reforms. The thing is, once we pitch these reforms, it's actually going to end the disaster. And maybe this is actually not the best way to end the disaster, but we're going to be showing it off. So we kind of want to show this as it comes. We are going to be putting down this rebellion pretty easy, and by we, I mean we as in Bohemia and us. And so we don't necessarily need to watch it too closely. They are going to swarm across the path here and deal with most of these rebels, but we will get radical as possible. Take the 20 stab hit. See, this is why we're paying for 100% stab, and we will move forward bigger, stronger, faster, everything, all this, and we will... oh, wait. We shouldn't have changed off of this. Did we change off of this? No, we didn't. We get this policy. This policy is insane. It is turbo insane. This is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. The 10% maximum tax really goes really hard with the 5 max tax that we get as Poland, and then also with the tax efficiency we will get once we unlock banking eventually. Very, very, very strong. We slot it in immediately. Fantastic. And we get this. Hey. Now, remember, technically, I think we value pushing plutocracy a lot, and one of the ways this ends is if we get over 36% crowd estate power. I'm pretty sure we get this here. Because just taking a look at it, we've gotten a lot more centralization than the start. We have a lot more control than the start because we remembered to slot out that really bad thing. And we're not even that far off of 36% crowd power. So I'm pretty sure we click this button, and then the crown wins the great victory over the... oh no. What's this? Major salt mines. Yeah, we will follow through with the major salt mines. We actually didn't get the turbo high crown power. That's interesting. Well, there is a lagging effect where, here, let's take a look at a city and kind of show this off. There is a lagging effect where these guys need to demote as time goes on, and they might be demoting now. No, they're not demoting. When you decrease aristocracy, because aristocracy gives maximum nobles, and so this loses you maximum nobles. Very interesting. Is there a way we can pip it? I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to pip it, so I guess we're kind of okay with it. And also, we should gain crown power more as we continue to push plutocracy, because that will decrease the share of the pie for them. Privilege demands. Alright. We will have another event here. Pushing us towards aristocracy and gaining some stab, yuck. We will push towards plutocracy, and we will grant this terrible thing. And we do not hear the howl of the mad dogs. Minus 50 to everyone and get consolidation attempts, which will give us 10% crown power. Do we want to give this to the Szlachta? I don't think we do. How bad is this? Agenda pack for nobility, positive, minus max tax for nobility. That's actually not too bad. That's actually fine. Right? Parliament request issue support needed. See, that we don't like. So we just tell them to shove it, and then we fight 2 revs, and then we get consolidation attempt. It seems like we just click this. But also consolidation attempt, it might be enough to stick it in here. That's another 10% crown power. I don't think it will be enough, but it could be. We get a food request, of course we say yes. We will take this down, and then we could also hand out some privileges, some privies, in order to do this. We don't need the decentralization or to avoid the centralization trend, and this is actually pretty good and will help us to recover the prosperity. And then also we could just give out another one to these guys, and they probably won't rev here. So let's just give out another one and then also contain the coinage. It doesn't really matter because the biggest thing is the huge minus we get to the Szlachta, but the Szlachta are already at 0. So this will work out, and we're basically at just crossing the finish line here. Do we need to click the button? Let's push for plutocracy. Let's hope we click to the right button. But this should be creeping up. Yeah, and it is creeping up as we get less and less noble power. As the noble power decreases, as this approaches 0, not as it approaches high plutocracy, but as it approaches 0, this should be where our crown power is highest. So we are approaching the high crown power. We maybe could even swap this out. No, but this would give us positive trend. What are we doing? What are we thinking? But for a little bit of extra crown power, my kingdom for a horse. See, this we're not a huge fan of. Minus 20 stab event. It is getting painful. We're also already max spending on stab. Union contribution, hell no. We're also max spending on stability already, and we have a cabinet action assigned to it, so it's not like we could, well, we can do a little bit better. If I recall correctly, we might not have a cabinet guy appointed, but I think we do. Yeah, there's really not much better we could do. We are stabilizing the country right now, which is part of why we're not in just super apocalypse mode, but this is a really big state satisfaction equilibrium problem. We will help these guys. We will not help these guys settle. We don't want to acquire a bunch of debt here. We'll just kind of do a little bit smaller option, but this is a negative satisfaction. We're also getting a negative satisfaction from this, so a total of minus 25, really eating into the amount of money we can get potentially. But okay, this is another event that we're rolling, and we get Stronghold of the Burghers for 10 years on Torin, which is... I don't remember Bueller. I don't remember getting this city. We would have connected this. Oh, we thought we had given this over to them, but it was cord, so we didn't give it over. Okay, this is fair enough. We probably want to make a bailiff here and then connect the two, actually. So we'll do that with our next spend, but we will also... It's also nice that we have this, because we can click this, and we are ever closer to even on the plutocracy aristocracy scale. We will get another rebellion, and then we will get Triumph of the Crown. Because as we trended towards the middle, the way the math works is it's better for us. And because we have all these crown power modifiers, right? Because we have all this juice, it makes it easier for us to get up to as high as 37. Also, The Civil War helped us pop it. The Civil War helped us pop it because all the low control areas were ones that spawned it, and so we will just get help from Boho again, and we will mobilize again, the super easy, unlosable Civil War, and then we will say at last, and we will get the triumph of the crown here. This gives us 20 stab, thank God. 18% crown power, minus change policy cost, some trend towards centralization. We will revoke this, we will revoke this, and we will revoke this. All at the same time. Interestingly, that's 20 aristocracy plus 0.3 aristocracy, or sorry, that's a total of 0.3 aristocracy is going to be removed. 0.1 from here, 0.1 from here, and then 0.1 from the situation ending, or the disaster ending. So we should have just a massive trend towards aristocracy now anyways. So we'll probably push it, or sorry, not aristocracy, plutocracy, we'll probably push it. And Hungary intervenes as well. So this will be really straightforward. And the disaster's been averted. There we go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Not even a big deal was that. And we're coming out with like very, very strong crown power. These guys are looking quite good. Our estates are happy, except they're not. And yeah, everything's looking good. Could we award these guys something? How about this one? This one looks good. Just kidding. So if we low roll, we will get back-to-backed by disasters with a succession crisis. All we have to do is get our legitimacy above 50 though. So we have moved our cabinet action on over to that since we were relatively legitimate to start with. And we will be able to push this ideally. Hopefully we don't low roll. It'll just be like 6 months of fading a 1% chance, which is pretty good odds for us. I was thinking that we would hold off on this war against the Teutonic Order until after this kind of resolved itself, which is going to take some time, admittedly. This is a really painful thing as a result of a lot of our removal of privileges and, like, just yikes. We can give out a few more to these guys to make them happy, but I think we'll just go for it, because once our army's mobilized, it's mobilized, man. So we are going to use these pretty favors that we had accrued to isolate from allies and get rid of this alliance with the Teutonic Order. That way he won't side against us with his big fat 30 stack, and we'll say, no, please stop. And then we will declare here on them. This will be nice. There's basically nothing they can do here. It's going to be super straightforward, and we will need a diplomat. Alright, fair enough. So we will grab ourselves a diplomat by canceling improved relations in a couple of spots who needed relations anyways, and we will go and fight them and take some stuff. Alright, so we have a parliament, and after this, parliaments are going to be relatively calm. We are trying to handle our satisfaction issues and also pass a reasonable looking parliament. So we're going to grab or give some privilege or a privilege over onto the nobility. It's a fairly good one. 5% discipline is quite strong. And then with this, with them having much higher approval, they're going to give us a lot more out of, you know, us going for their thing. You can see it's up to 4%. We are going to wait a little bit. And what we really want to do is we want to pass Gravel Road for the centralization. We now only have a trend of 0.1 with Parliament, which means we're break even on the centralization trend, just generally speaking. But this is how we push it up the rest of the way and how we make progress. And so we are going to want to do the support the land. We are just going to wait and later because these are coming up at a rate of 1.2. Looks like they asked us to help them in a civil war. They helped us in our civil wars, so we won't help them in theirs. And then we will continue on over here, just looking to get this parliament kind of in a nice spot. I think that we're just going to probably click the button once, and so let's just click it. And then this is going to be our parliament, unless we got some crazy thing behind there. But we just want to pass this. And so that's going to be our parliament. From now on out, we're going to be just mainly request additional taxes and also looking for any sort of good parliaments and probably looking to expand into Volhynia and Helich, kind of sort of thing. We've handled a lot of our internal stuff, and now we're looking for our exterior stuff. Also, as it relates to the kind of how we're spending our money and this type of stuff, we are starting to urbanize a little bit. We are going to push for areas that have really good overlap on the locations. You can see here we will be able to build our textile stuff because it's in the same location as a wool. We have the same thing with iron. It's kind of where we're coming into our fore here, where we have a whole bunch of good stuff going on. We'll want to keep it near the capital, and we'll also want to keep it in high pop areas, but this is what we'll be doing. In these kind of far off areas that we conquer or integrate or this type of stuff, we'll probably just build a bailiff next to them and then a market attaching them and just like leave them alone. As you can see here, we have a lot more control than when we had that silly privilege that gave -10 that we didn't notice for the longest time for whatever reason. I can't believe we didn't notice that. And so things are coming along. We're expecting to make more than -30 because right now we're paying for a full stab, and we are going to rake that back in the nearest future. In fact, let's rake it back a little bit. I think we're in okay shape here. We're going to pay for the maximum cost of court, but also when this tops out and hits 100, we'll be making around 50 ducats, and then we're going to actually start spinning up our economy too. So really at an inflection point where we should be starting to get a little bit of a pop-off going with our overall run. We do want to, we maybe could stop these from popping, but I think that we're going to have to fight some revs. And if that's the case, we maybe want to help Hungary with theirs so that they can help us with ours. So in regards to tech, we're going to pick up this for the proximity cost, and then we are going to go back to age 1 and pick up the institution modifier, and also go and head over for maximum RGOs in rural. We're starting to get close on some of the RGOs. We've been mainly running an RGO economy as it stands, and so we will push those. And then I do think we have RGOs as well down here, and construction speed, or just construction speed into legislative efficiency. We'll go for this. If we get an institution before then, we will swap to it, but I don't think we're really looking like we're in that great a shape for getting a quick institution. Professional armies is spreading. We can be a little bit more proactive about it. As we urbanize, I think we are going to push some amount of trade centers a little bit, and so this will help out as well. Normally, we don't like to push them too much close to the capital, but this is going to allow us, or give us opportunities to trade, to bring institutions in, and this type of thing. We don't really have much trade capacity, and so we can use this trade capacity to import it from places like Avenzia, which have all the institutions, in order to pull the institutions to Krakow. So we'll be doing a bit of that. Our research speed's kind of been a little bit lackluster. We haven't been too focused on it, and so I think now we are going to be taking a closer look at it, especially with the clergy, regards to them being upset. Also, while we're at 0 satisfaction of these guys, now is probably a good time to be putting in the state privileges, because the penalty is you get minus satisfaction on other guys. If those other guys are already at 0, then it's kind of not a big deal, huh? So we will put in a couple of clergy ones, which will make them happier, which incidentally will help with the research speed, so that will be good for us. We're looking for stuff that is, we're mainly doing it for the satisfaction hit, but also we like stability. Communalism's pretty good, so we will be okay with that as well. And so now that should get rid of the rev of the clergy, most likely, alright, it's going to slow it down, and as we get more and more, they should go away, but the burgers for sure 100% will pop. We maybe should have looked at this a little bit closer when following the Black Plague, but we didn't really have that much money then. We were mainly pushing the RGOs, but we're also going to push a bunch of settlements in various places, which is going to give us quite a bit more population growth. They give 1% population growth, which is an enormous amount, and also 1% migration attraction, and so our next kind of few expenditures are going to be towards there. While we fill up qualifications in the urban center, we are kind of building around and near Krakow. We get a bit of an interesting Polish event where we can pay 108 ducats, and every location with a stockade or castle will gain prosperity. We have one, but it will give us prosperity works for 20 years. Minus 20% or minus 15% town building costs. So this is going to more than pay for itself. So we'll go with that one for now. I think, just have too expensive prices on the settlement stuff. Oh, no, we don't. So we could look to close this out. We are zooming out and just holding shift to just build them everywhere, because we know we want them everywhere. So we don't need to be discriminant or like subtle or anything like this. And we are also going to build them in our subjects territory as well. well. We don't really care. This territory is eventually going to become our territory, so it's not a big deal. We are waiting after this peace deal where we took a ton of land without really any sort of negative recourse. We are waiting for this to be over, this horror of the rebellion. We are going to be using Carpet Siege as well to try and speed this along with our unit, but this is a quick one. Hungary's mostly got it handled. We'll split those guys up and it should be over quickly, and we can kind of set up some new subjects and review them. Ooh, I think we're actually overpaying for... Yikes, we're not supposed to be running a Diplo spend here. We'll come back here. And so we'll be releasing, I think there's a releasable here that we had wanted to grab. We have a contiguous land to this guy, and then we wanted to feed most of the subjects, or most of the land we had grabbed to subjects that we are going to form. So any second now these will be finished, or not, because there's forts. There's forts. We are starting to build some schools. This will help with the qualifications quite a lot. The base qualification amount is going to be 10 in terms of growth, but we also have plenty of opportunities, and the school is going to add another 10, and it is also going to increase the speed of the spread of institutions, which is going to be nice for us. This is something that is sort of coming to the fore on our radar in terms of things that we care about, and so this will be nice for us. But you can see here, max literacy. We probably should have had one of these way earlier on the capital because it is the market center. We are having trouble maintaining routes, but we are getting professional armies at a decent clip, but we still have to get it all the way over to all this other land. So we're going to continue to try and petty, like, thieves slash trade our way into having trade routes with some of these big boys over here. Even though the routes keep canceling, we'll try and make it work. So it's looking like we're getting a few routes sticking. A silver route, a fish route, which is very sticky and easy to keep in, and a marble route. To the end of keeping the fish route sticking, I think that we do want to expand more the Jewelers Guild, but we won't right now because masonry is expensive. We're expanding it. We did do a lot of building. These are some roads coming in, and we got a couple more urban centers. We're making 60 to 80 ducats a month, depending on, you know, conditions. Right now we're doing a bunch of inefficient trades, so the conditions aren't the best, but we are starting to kind of break free or break open from what we have going on. Also, we are up to 1 million pops just kind of coming in, and when we start to annex these guys, the pops will be flowing more. Now, we do want to think about changing where the capital is and also changing a few other things. We just don't want to do that at this juncture right now because right now everything's flowing into the capital. We want the capital to also be on top of a trade center, and everything is flowing into this here in Krakow, and so we want to get our institutions before we consider any sort of moves. And so we might look it over in terms of where we want kind of stuff to eventually be finalized, because I really don't think that the Krakow's the ideal capital. I really think it's somewhere in here. Maybe even I know Wordaclaw. I don't know how to pronounce this, but that really does seem to be in the middle of like all this kind of open terrain, and I do believe it is on top of a river. So this would be a kind of reasonable-ish looking place. Maybe even in here would be good on the sand tile. But we're not going to do any of that at any time in the near future, because we do have to get our institutions. Our institutions will definitely come in time, though. We're not going to be late on the institutions, but we do want to make sure that there are roads heading on over this way so that the institutions can spread along the roads. We don't have enough money for full road coverage, but we're hoping to get there in the near future. We're cooking an additional spy network guy for some extra time. Just wanted to be able to get these claims as quickly as possible. I do think it's under 5 years until we are done now with this, so we will pull this guy back. Under 5 years left on the truce, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, I am not, so it's around 4 years left, and so we'll go after the Teutonic Order again, getting a very soft expand, and with our next parliament, probably look to get a war on one of these three, something like this, because we do have our sights kind of on a long-term sort of sense set on forming Poland-Lithuania. We maybe can, in the amount of remaining time. We have 22 years. I'm thinking that we won't be able to. We have to stay and get on in corporations, I guess, in order to maybe have a chance of doing that. So we will try and make sure we are annexing these guys and or improving relations with them so that we can. I think that we have improved relations with this guy, so we can annex this guy. So let's get started on that. And we will improve relations with that guy's already good with us. This guy is not. And so we'll maybe try and pick up the pace here a little bit, especially because so much is opening up for us economically speaking. Well, this is a bit of an awkward event. The privilege of a Kazici. Can't pronounce any of these Polish words, I apologize. But this is, okay, a privilege that gives trend towards aristocracy. So on some hand, we kind of don't like it because that means we're going to be able to push plutocracy a whole lot less. But we're pushing it pretty well anyways. It's not the biggest deal. We can get it to 50% instead of 60%. Ooh, oh no. But the thing is this allows us to get a marriage with Lithuania via event. Yeah, who are we fighting right now? So that is really awkward. We don't want to take the 7 stab hit, and to be honest, we kind of like the idea of having this cultural influence, 10%. As well as this is a rather benign 5% satisfaction for the nobility. I know that we were trying to get off of aristocracy for forever, but as long as we have positive trend towards plutocracy, we can go that direction, and it's not even necessarily clear that we want to go plutocratic. We were just doing it for avoiding the disasters. So we'll say we will follow through, and we will just twiddle our thumbs very awkwardly at the notion that we are, going after them. The plan here is also just to kind of consult, form new country, and just only go for land that is part of the Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth. So leave this untaken, but go for basically everything else that we can, with just kind of a massive peace deal, something like this, and just feed it to our subjects who we are planning on annexing. We will full occupy this guy. We will probably need to split our armies. He basically has nothing. I don't know what's exactly going on with this guy, but we will go there, and then we will kind of finish going after all this, but he's got nothing doing, basically. So it's fairly straightforward. We'll take a bunch of land. So grabbing some territory up in the north, things are going good, and we can request knowledge sharing from Warmia, which is pretty nice, given the way that the cookie crumbled up here, which is going to help us out to get the institutions. They do have a little bit that will give us extra institution growth in Krakow, and I think it gives us a flat amount too. I'm not 100% sure if it gives us a flat. We have the imports. It doesn't look like it gives us any flat, but I do know it's a pretty good way to help the institution spread. Also, if you just take land that has the institution, it's 20% of your pop, so if you have a low pop country, just taking a place with institutions will help out. But in any case, that'll be useful for us. We are kind of creeping up on finishing out professional armies here. People are making some new markets in a couple of spots, actually. That wasn't the first one, so we have some stuff going on. Riga is also, maybe we should have taken Riga, actually, rather than gone for, like, Ossel, but that's how we fought this. I think it's just one more war for us to take out the Teutonic Order in their entirety, and then we're looking pretty good in terms of what we need to do in order to get Poland and Lithuania. We probably have enough territory after taking out the Teutonic Order without needing to go after these guys, but what we can do is we can take a bunch of territory off them, form the Poland-Lithuanian Union, and then release them as subjects. The reason we're expanding with subjects is so we don't have to integrate guys ourselves, and our subjects can instead do it for us. You see, these guys are trying to integrate, and they are working on it. So infrastructure is improving. This is our proximity map mode, and as you can see, bridges are coming in. So we're probably going to start being able to touch proximity on over to here. Maybe. It's going to be a little bit close. It's probably going to... let's take the stab, considering those guys are happy with us anyways, eh? And so here it's negative 2.37. As these bridges finish, kind of keen on seeing how much it improves. Will we have to swap map modes? Or what was it before? Did we see it after it improved? The swapping Mac modes fix it. Doesn't look like it, but this is, you can see the vein of the river and the roads and all the bridges, this type of stuff. We are starting to push, and we're also going to get some of this near territory that's much closer, that's going to be easier for us to push to from Krakow. Krakow's just really not a good place for the capital, but again, we want the capital in the market center, and we want the market center here because we're getting institutions, and professional armies has arrived as well. That one will spread pretty quick, so we're in no danger of idling our research, basically, considering we even have basic stuff that's still useful to research, just a whole bunch of stuff. So we've been, for a lot of our starts, we've been playing some of these eastern countries where we have to worry a lot about institution spread, and while Poland's not especially good, it's not like Muscovy. It's still close enough that you can have a pretty comfortable like institution open as you try and work and figure things out. And okay, we were a little bit proactive, and you probably have to be proactive to not have idle stuff, but it's not too hard, or it wasn't too hard for us to set these up for Venice. So Boho calls us into a war, and the timing's basically perfect for our war on the Teutons, who have no means by which to resist. So we'll just fight both of these at the same time, because we do have to have no raised levies in order to fight, and I do think we want to actually try and peel off a chunk of Brandenburg, maybe, in this war, and or some of Wolgast. Oh no, wait, Wolgast isn't against us, but Brandenburg, a little piece wouldn't hurt anyone, except for Brandenburg, and so we'll maybe have a go at that. Alright here, so we are going to betray Bohemia. The main reason we were playing friends with Bohemia was so that we could go after the Teutonic Order for free, but that time is over, so we're just going to separate peace out of their war. And we're just going to separate peace out of their UI. Please. We're going to separate peace out of their war. We're going to take the 3 locations needed for Poland-Lithuania, or that contribute to Poland-Lithuania, and also going to go for a few provinces to release a tag so that we can go after these guys a little bit later. So we'll take that peace deal. It's not going to really affect too many people. In fact, some of these guys will be rather happy that we are taking stuff off their hands. We will accrue negative infamy with several guys, but we'll go for that, and then because we are going to full annex the Teutonic Order, we will get all of their subjects as our subjects, and so that will be quite nice for us. So no need to go after the subjects, they'll just become ours, and this similarly is not going to upset anyone. Oh, it's going to upset the Teutonic Order. And Lithuania is already mad, so that will be that, and that will be gone for the Teutonic Order. So as things stand here, in terms of where we are, we just need another 60 or so provinces for Poland-Lithuania. We are annexing some people, and as far as integration goes, these places aren't integrated. I don't think we're going to start incorporating them. I think we're just going to accept this for now until we form Poland-Lithuania, but what we will want to do is, of course, make the historical subject of this guy here, who will have claims on these provinces here. So that is going to work quite nicely for that. Us, we'll make a vassal out of him, and these land, or this location, isn't needed. We just wanted to have our lands contiguous. We will cede him the location. And that's kind of the outcome of these wars. Really kind of cheap and easy here. We just need a little bit more, and we just need to finish these annexations. I don't know if we're going to get it in the next 11 years, which is the first 50 years, but we are well on our way to getting Poland-Lithuania without having really anyone in our way, especially not Bohemia or Hungary. Incidentally, Bohemia, #1 great power, they're doing pretty hot right now. So we have a parliament we want to pass, expand gravel road network because it'll give us a 10 towards centralization. Real important. We used this parliament to give ourselves a CB in Halich. We kind of wrecked the satisfaction of these guys. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. But now that we've raised our guys, what we're going to do is we are going to ask for another CB on this guy. We are hoping to get a CB on Lithuania at some point, but maybe next parliament we will have a few extra years with which to found Poland-Lithuania. But now that our levies are raised, let's lessen the levy obligations. Sounds good to me. And so this will set us up for passing gravel road network and also being able to afford 2 CBs in this. We are going to call, when we get enough of these actions, we are going to call in Bohemia to this war. I think that we can probably stop improving relations with this guy. Yeah, we can. And so this will just take us 3 months. Ugh. Holy... It's going on here. And so this will just take us 3 months, and then we will have a little bit of a go. Our centralization is now at 83, which is quite nice for us, giving us a lot of proximity cost reduction and that juicy 41% crown power. This is probably going to be a little bit of a difficult war, but I think that their forces in general are kind of fragmented, so I don't think it'll be too tremendously hard for us to maybe get this one done. We'll go straight for the throat, and we'll just double check and see what's the price on subjugation. So subjugation is over 100, and then on Halish, it's a little over 100. So if we occupy Halish, we might be able to get subjugation on them, and then Volhynia, we might just have to take stuff directly, although I don't know exactly if we can fling or swing that much antagonism our way and be able to afford it, but the war is afoot. They are segmented because Wallachia, Bulgaria, and Serbia all over here, and I guess they're going to get access through Moldavia, maybe, or they're just not going to participate. Ideally. So for tech, we are going to take the military segment of the tree. I don't think we're going to need peasant levies, so we are going to stay off of it. We aren't doing anything seafaring, so we're going to leave that stuff be for now, and I think we're mainly going to just be waiting for hitting our thing. I guess we could go for literacy for clergy. That seems fine enough, but it's mainly going to be a waiting game for getting our next institution, which, okay, we have maybe 5% saturation right now. If we take a look, we can check it out. We actually have 9%, so that's looking pretty good. We're halfway there to being able to accept them, and really it's just a ton of our territory has got a big chunk of it. Basically anywhere with a road, I think, is doing really hot, or is it anywhere with a library? We have a lot of places at 40-ish%, and of course radiating out from where we already have it, both in the north and also in the south here, so we should be getting that pretty quick. The war is going kind of okay. Not insanely good, not insanely bad, just kind of making slow and steady progress here, except for when they do that. Can we retreat over there? Yeah, let's do that. Shout out to retreating forward. So we were thinking of assaulting this. There's really not a lot of guys here, so we might assault this, considering the progress is slow, and this is the capital of them. After that, which we can take whatever we want. In a peace deal, it looks like they're already really not feeling it, so we can go for a bit of territory. I would really like to be able to subjugate them, though. Generally speaking, when you occupy them, the cost of subjugation tends to drop a little bit, because control tends to drop a little bit, and so if we could do that, we might be able to get them a little bit cheaper and subjugate them. Of course, just taking territory is going to be easier for forming Poland-Lithuania, but I think we're kind of in good shape for that. We might not be able to do it in the next 6 years, but we are just going to be in a very good position to be able to do it later, so I'm not exactly sure which one is preferable. Alright, so it looks like we can go for it. We're going to upset a few people, but that seems fine enough to go for the subjugation on them. We will have to increase relations. We can take a look at the antagonism map mode. This is kind of what we're working with. We're not exactly afraid of these guys, and we have a ton of extra diplomats because we were floating high diplomacy in order to get a better use out of that. So we're going to put some of these guys in. And then we are also going to start annexation on one of these guys, and then we will slide our slider down and probably just go into the negative in terms of what our diplo looks like. And so let's show a little bit of that. So we can be at -10, and we just will let it stay at -10 or -20 or -30 or whatever it is. Why don't we annex 3 people at once? Can we do that? I think that probably works. And then we'll stay with the sliders. We do have to make sure that they stay loyal. Halish, actually, we don't really care if it's loyal or not, because, well, we care a little bit. Maybe we don't care. It's fine. But it is looking like we have at least enough land under our control, but I don't think we're going to get enough. I don't think we're going to get 43 territories in the next however long. Oh, we need another diplomat to declare war on this guy. No. Alright, let's do this for now. Until we can get some more diplomats, and then we will stop improving relations with some people who already have really good relations with, in order to get enough diplomats to be able to do this. So we'll be paying more for the diplomats, because the slider gives us additional diplomats, and we are using, or diplomats per month, and we need those to declare a war on this guy here. I guess we'll handle that first. It's a little cute here, but the Rev allows us to accept or embrace professional armies easier by virtue of taking away some of our territories. So intentionally procking a Rev for the purpose of doing this is kind of an interesting idea. We will queue up some of these kind of things in here. I don't think we're going to go for armories, and then also Men-at-Arms is probably the really big power spike. Let's go for Men-at-Arms here, and then after this we will go for Gunsmith, and then Cannon Maker, and some of this. Actually, let's just go for the tactics. If we have banking by then, we'll actually want to switch to the banking tree, but this will be good enough for us on the military tree here. So we add Mazovian as an accepted culture. We probably should have done this a little while ago. Didn't realize they viewed us as kindred. Thought that we were overly pressured on accepted cultures, but that will give us all these places as cores. And then we get Romancia to improve our relation with Prussian, or improve our Prussian opinion, which does free up some culture slot in terms of what we're looking at. I'm thinking that, though, we can't do this by the time of, you know, kind of 87, was trying to figure out some sort of way to maybe do this, but we aren't annexing guys fast enough. We're annexing 3 guys simultaneously right now, and it's going to be a little bit of a time before those annexations go through. I think with those guys, we do have enough going on, and so this war is a little bit aggro. We don't really need this level of an antagonism, but we're going to still see it through and probably do something. Well, see, going after this guy is actually just kind of expensive for whatever reason. We could put some more stuff in. I guess it's not that bad. We could vassalize him. We could also feed portions of him to Minsk, which I'm inclined to do, in order to create a kind of place or a chain to Lithuania so that we can fight Lithuania afterwards. He has claims on Lithuania and beyond, so feeding Minsk kind of a little bit of a route here, and then maybe taking a little kind of other stuff from Ashmiani, but then not actually finishing them off probably makes a bit of sense here. But after we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to redistribute out all these uncored areas to someone else, knowing that, or create new subjects, because it doesn't look like we can form Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in time, so we would rather manage it in a bit of a more slow way, where we are letting our subjects do all this integration for us rather than we do it ourselves. Well, had a relatively uneventful time, just kind of waiting out some of our antagonism a little bit. We could probably improve relations with these guys, decrease the antagonism some more. Let's do that with Kiev here. But as things stand, this is our run start as Poland. A few things could have been improved. It's probably possible to make Poland-Lithuania within the first 50 years and handle the disaster. We just didn't really have this on our radar until after we handled the disaster, and so setting up for that is probably good. Also, you could probably roll better RNG where you don't become the lower portion of the Union, but I don't really think this is necessarily a bad thing, because the Diplo rep is actually kind of nice for making us take less antagonism. Considering what we did at the end, we should probably have earned more antagonism, but as it stands, not really people who want to stand up against us. In terms of what we got diplomatically, these guys are either us or our subjects, so we do have a very, very wide expansion here, and also some expansion spots in mind. Minsk has some cores. We also have, these guys have some cores in here. We might even have a possibility of declaring war on these guys at this juncture. Yeah, we do have claims on province here. So if we wanted to fight these guys, this would be something we could do, including Bohemia, although I don't think we're ready, and we're about to get professional armies in terms of our technology situation, or we're about to get up to armories and also men-at-arms. Upgrading the levies is really important when the levies are so strong in the first 3 ages, so this is going to be what we are going for, and so maybe then we could go for Bohemia and really kind of take a big chunk out of some of this really, really juicy land with really, really good resources. We're talking about silver, we're talking about gold. Also, I'm not sure exactly the conditions for breaking free of the Union or this type of thing, other than us changing our succession law, which we can't, although There's other ways to do it, I think. Like we could we could put in a government reform that actually just changes our gov type or our election system, and I think it'll override it. So I think there's a few ways out that aren't too difficult, but we just have to wait for the next age. But if we do want to fight Hungary at some point in time, we do have these kind of expand spots as well, so we will be looking better. Didn't really think of where we wanted to put the capital, or was trying to think, but really couldn't figure it out. Maybe it just is in the middle of here. This is kind of most intuitive place, especially because getting close to here, we would be able to project control over a lot more of the Baltic, which I felt was kind of an area where we have a lot of territory, right? So once we annex these guys, once we get level 2 roads, this type of thing, we would be able to come out from the coast and maybe project a little bit of control here, maybe go for North Germany, maybe go for Sweden, and then have this Baltic control in addition to this. It's too difficult, like on a macro sense, it's too difficult to like push through an enormous amount of control through Hungary or through Bohemia, I think. And so that leaves us with this giant kind of circle being maybe where we would want to project our power, barring us like doing something like moving our capital over here and flipping to Austria or something like this, in terms of what we could do later. But in terms of what we focused on, really a lot of it has to do with manipulating the laws, in particular at the opener, to try and get as much centralization as possible. And then once we have that, it makes the disaster a lot more manageable, because getting 36 or however much percentage crown power is not that difficult if you have a lot of centralization, and if you rush it down, you can get it before the disaster. I think that going plutocracy first might make more sense. I think that we kind of low-rolled the RNG on our guy dying first, and maybe if he lived a little longer, we would be in better shape. I know he can live, and then you can pass the reforms, and then the disaster is probably pretty easy. The reforms where you piss off the Szlachta a whole bunch, and then you get a bunch of crown power for like 20 years. If you get that, and then you get the disaster, it's probably a lot easier, and so restarting is maybe something reasonable. We also showed that I guess you can't fight Bohemia. Are they still doing the thing? They might be doing the thing still. Yeah, it looks like they're still increasing control via cabinet action, so power to them. We were kind of beginning to develop, just kind of quick perusal. We are expanding out from kind of the capital, radiating out. This is where we have a lot of control. And we're running into like the pop issue. We're expanding the best industries we can out all the way, but it's only like 3 levels because these levels scale with pops. And they scale with development, and we don't have much of either, and we kind of don't want to upgrade a whole bunch of places to towns in order to be able to really push this, because you get worse pop growth in towns, and pops are fundamentally the issue. So kind of running into this point where it's like, okay, how do we maximize growth? To be fair, there are some areas with this hyper-abundant free land modifier where they will be getting a bunch of extra pop growth, and there are some areas with settlements. You can see that this has a 91% abundant free land, and that is going to be a really big driver of growth for us kind of at this lower level, but then we're going to stall out. And you know, it's kind of like what we were saying earlier, even though it looks like we've done a whole bunch of expansion, well, because we have, this is all kind of low pop area, and so we have 1.5 million. There's maybe, God, freaking tooltip. There's maybe, like, in terms of what else we're getting, if we annex everyone, it's maybe another 1.5 million, so 3 million pops, and like, this doesn't put us at a point where this is like a start that's going to look particularly strong when saddled next to the likes of France and England and this type of stuff, but it is definitely playable, and like, you can get some stuff done. In particular, just wanted to emphasize again, the really, really strong thing that is not visible at game start, because it doesn't show you your unique policies, is going to be our, where is it? We have a unique law in here that is really, really strong, but it is going to be probably the Polish sounding one. There we go, the legal code. And it is going to give 10% max tax. So this is really strong. This combined with the fact that we decided to kind of stay a little bit on serfdom. There's a really good serfdom privilege or government reform in the next age that we're kind of thinking we might like, but this is giving us another 16% max tax on the peasants. So coming in and taking a look, we're not even taxing them as much as possible, even with a whole bunch of things in, and the max tax is 66%. That's a lot. And so if we can find peasant satisfaction anywhere, that'd be really useful, but as it stands, the only thing that gives it is stuff that gives decentralization, or stuff that gives free subjects, which would brick our ability to be on serfdom. But next age, we will be able to go for, let's kind of pull it out and show what we're talking about, universal serfdom, which gives 33% crown power and monthly progress to serfdom. So this would allow us to put in another thing. And I don't think we would want this for a very long period of time, but I think throughout age 3 we could go with this and it'd be solid enough. And then age 4, then we maybe flip away from the serfdom and decide to go... Well, if we could get enough peasant satisfaction, this seems fine. The max tax is really nice, though, because the peasants are getting a big chunk of the money, so this is allowing us to get a lot of money, but obviously it's overkill, so that is what it is. Anyways, yep. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, if you haven't picked up the game yet, or you're picking up a different Paradox title at full price, if you want to support the channel, a really good way to do it is to use our code on the official web store. If you do that, you do not get a discount. The code is generalist in all caps, but we do get 12% of the sale, a very generous cut from Paradox. And make sure that if you are not using USD, you cross-check the prices, because prices on the Paradox store and Steam will vary for most currencies that are not USD, so don't pay extra for the game. But other than all that, yep, we already did the outro, so other than that, have a good one. Bye-bye now. Take care.